In ancient Africa, south of Egypt, there was a kingdom called Kush. This land was rich in gold, cattle, ebony, and ivory. Its people were skilled farmers, hunters, and warriors, and they lived along the Nile River in what is today Sudan. The first great city of Kush was Napata, close to the sacred mountain Jebel Barkal. The Kushites believed that the god Amun lived there, and their priests and kings often said that Amun gave them the right to rule. For many years, Egypt and Kush had a close but tense relationship. Sometimes they traded peacefully. The Egyptians wanted Kushite gold, ivory, and cattle, while the Kushites valued Egyptian cloth, grain, and luxury goods. At other times, they fought wars. Egypt once conquered Kush during the New Kingdom around 1500 BC and ruled it for centuries. Because of this, Kush adopted many Egyptian traditions, such as worshipping Egyptian gods, building pyramids and temples, and even using Egyptian writing. But later, Egypt fell into weakness during the period known as the Third Intermediate Period, around 1000 BC. The country broke apart into smaller kingdoms, and many princes fought each other for power. Egypt was no longer united or strong. At this time, Kush grew more powerful and united under strong kings. They began to dream of turning the old story around, of ruling Egypt, just as Egypt had once ruled them. Around 750 BC, a Kushite king named Piye, also called Pianki, decided to march north and conquer Egypt. Piye believed he had been chosen by the god Amun to unite the whole Nile Valley. Egypt was divided at the time, with weak rulers in the north, quarreling leaders in the middle, and priests in the south at Thebes who supported Kush. Piye led his army with confidence. His soldiers were famous for their skill with bows and arrows. Egyptian writings even describe them as the archers of the south. Alongside archers, Piye's forces included spearmen and horsemen, making them strong in both close combat and swift movement. As Piye advanced into Egypt, city after city fell to him. Some surrendered without a fight, while others resisted but were defeated. The princes of Egypt, once proud rulers, were forced to kneel before him in submission. They kissed the ground at his feet and swore loyalty. By 728 BC, Piye had taken Memphis, the old Egyptian capital, and he now controlled both Kush and Egypt. He declared himself pharaoh, wearing the double crown that symbolized Upper and Lower Egypt. This was the birth of the 25th dynasty, which became known as the Kushite Dynasty. After Piye's conquest, the Kushite kings ruled Egypt as true pharaohs. Piye had begun this dynasty, but after him came his brother Shabaka, who worked to strengthen power across Egypt and ruled from Memphis. Later came Shebitku, who continued to defend Kushite authority, and after him rose Taharqa, the most famous Kushite pharaoh. Finally, there was Tanutaman, who tried to regain Egypt after it was lost to foreign invaders. The Kushite kings respected Egyptian traditions. They repaired old temples, honored the Egyptian gods, and continued building great monuments. They saw themselves not as outsiders, but as restorers of Egypt's old glory. Many Egyptians accepted them because they ruled like true pharaohs and protected religious traditions. Shabaka worked hard to keep Egypt safe from Libyan tribes that threatened the land. Taharqa, meanwhile, became remembered for peace and prosperity. During his reign, temples at Karnak, Kawa, and Jebel Barkal were built or restored. He also worked on canals and farmland, helping the people live better lives. For many Egyptians, it felt like the golden days of their ancestors had returned. But even as Kushite pharaohs ruled with wisdom and strength, another danger was rising in the east. Far away in Mesopotamia, the Assyrian Empire was becoming the most powerful force in the world. The Assyrians had strong armies with iron weapons, fast chariots, and fearsome siege engines. They conquered lands from the rivers of Mesopotamia to the mountains and coasts of the Near East. Egypt, under the Kushites, eventually became their target. At first, the Kushite pharaohs resisted Assyrian expansion by supporting other kingdoms, such as Judah, in their fights against Assyria. In 701 BC, King Taharqa even sent help to Jerusalem during an Assyrian invasion. The Bible mentions the king of Ethiopia, which referred to him. This showed how far Kushite power stretched beyond Egypt, but by 671 BC, the Assyrians invaded Egypt directly. Their king, Esarhaddon, led a huge army against Taharqa. The Kushites fought bravely, but the Assyrians were too strong. Memphis was captured, and Taharqa was forced to retreat south to Thebes. Taharqa did not give up. He continued to resist, regaining some territory for a short time. But the Assyrians returned with even more soldiers. They struck Egypt again and drove the Kushites further south. By then, it was clear that Assyria was too powerful to defeat. After Taharqa's death, his successor Tutankhamun tried to win Egypt back. Around 664 BC, he marched north with determination and managed to capture Memphis again. For a short time, it seemed that the Kushites might return as Egypt's rulers. But the Assyrians came back with great force. Their armies crushed Tutankhamun's forces and punished Egypt for resisting them. They attacked Thebes, the sacred city of Amun, and plundered it. This was a shock to Egypt because Thebes had been the heart of its religion for centuries. Tutankhamun fled back to Kush. He never returned to Egypt, and this marked the true end of Kushite rule there. By 656 BC, the Assyrians placed a new line of pharaohs in power, known as the 26th dynasty. This dynasty, based in the city of Sais in the Nile Delta, ruled Egypt under Assyrian control. The Kushites were gone, their dream of uniting the Nile Valley shattered. But even though they lost Egypt, the Kushites remained strong in their homeland. From Napata and later from Meroe, they ruled for many centuries. They built their own pyramids, carved temples, and developed a culture that combined both Kushite and Egyptian traditions. Their kings and queens were buried in pyramid fields that can still be seen today in Sudan. The Kushite pharaohs had ruled Egypt for less than 100 years, but their time left a deep mark on history. They showed that the Nile Valley was not always dominated from the north. For once, power flowed from south to north. Kings from Kush had sat on the throne of the pharaohs, rebuilt temples, and tried to bring back Egypt's greatness. The Kushite-Egyptian wars were not just about battles, but about ambition and destiny. The Kushites rose when Egypt was weak. Piye conquered the land and began the 25th dynasty. Shabaka and Taharqa strengthened it, and Tutankhamun tried to hold on to it. In the end, the Assyrians were too strong, and the Kushites returned home. Yet their story is remembered because it proved that Africa's power did not always rest in Egypt alone. The Kushite kings stood proudly as pharaohs and carved their names into the history of the Nile Valley forever.